Hey, hi, hello.
Welcome. Hopefully all of you grabbed a notebook and a sticker out front. If not, I think we have a few left if you want to grab one. Before we get into the presentation and a little bit about ourselves, we wanted to ask a few questions to just gauge who's in the room. So who here daydreams? Everyone. In your personal life, at work, who's just kind of thinking about what could be?
Who here has a passion project now or would like to have one in the future?
Maybe not something you get paid for, but you love.
You know.
And who here is curious? A lot of designers are curious, right? You're always thinking what could be, or maybe about your skill set or the next path.
And speaking of passion projects, just a second ago, who here has a side hustle? And maybe some of those are passion projects because you're doing them for free for your family? Yeah, we all have those.
And who here thinks they have untapped skills, whether their employer isn't using it or they feel like they've learned something that isn't currently being utilized in what you're getting paid for? Don't be shy. Everyone.
Awesome. These are all opportunities and times that you might want to consider a pivot if you're not already, whether that's personally or professionally. Using these questions as opportunities is really what we're here to talk about today. So hopefully we can help you wherever you are in your life, going through some of our obstacles and how we've turned them into opportunities, and hopefully our takeaways will help you wherever you are.
So our presentation today is going to be organized by three major obstacles that we've kind of leveraged in our career to serve as pivots. And they've been kind of chronicling our transition to offering environmental graphic design as a service at MA Architects, where we both work, to growing it into a studio from 2 different cities and lots of continents. And then kind of the transition to experiential design, which is where we are now, which is kind of an evolution of environmental graphic design. And then accompanying those pivots are going to be takeaways. So 3 major takeaways that have been milestones for us and kind of, benchmarked our progress along this messy route. And we're very much in the middle of that right now. Kind of pivot 3 is where we are. So hopefully we'll get more and more honest and real as we go on. But before we dive in, we did want to spend a little bit of time talking about our backgrounds, just so you understand that different paths lead to different careers. And we both got into environmental graphic design, not by schooling. So we did want to just kind of quickly go over that so you have a better idea about why we're here.
All right, so I'm Alicia Huber, and I graduated from the Modern College of Design in 2010, and I think we might have some modern people out here representing the modern. I studied a lot of graphics in this program, and it was all graphic design. No extra studies as far as math or science, and this is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to jumpstart my career in college and just get to work right away after school. So that's exactly what I did. And I jumped right into environmental graphics right out of college. I worked for a firm that did collegiate athletic facilities, really enhancing the experiences of recruits at a lot of sports environments, such as stadiums and locker rooms. And this is where my love of environmental graphics really came into play. But I really kind of wanted to pivot and understand a little bit more about brands. So I moved to Columbus in 2011, and I worked at an advertising agency and worked with a lot of really great brands and really understood, after working here, the importance of a brand and their voice. And then I was missing the space. I was missing bringing graphics into an environment. I really wanted to blend the two, so how would I do that? So I wanted to move back and pivot back to environmental graphics, which led me to an architecture firm today, MA, and with Chelsea. So it's not a streamlined process to how we got to where we are, but it's been a lot of fun, and we've really been able to use our strengths and our passions to get to where we are, and it's what led us to building an experiential design studio within an architecture firm.
And I'm Chelsea Curry, and so I actually went to The Ohio State University, and I'm not going to yell OH because CCAD is generously hosting us today, but I want to. So I actually studied landscape architecture, and I quickly realized that I was gravitating toward visual communication. In architecture and landscape architecture, there's so much graphic design, and it's amazing how many people don't have that skill going into that schooling and really aren't taught it always. So I actually coupled my landscape architecture degree with design, which was an amazing decision looking back now because it really helped me with the type of renderings we were starting to do and presentation boards and just being able to sell and communicate my ideas. And I got to take color theory, which was really fun, and sub out calculus. So over the 10 years that I've been graduated, I've had three, I guess, really defining roles in my life. I started out in landscape architecture, but as maybe some of you know, if you have a really solid graphic design skill set, you quickly get pulled into a lot of avenues. And I was being pulled into renderings, which I loved, but also marketing. So as an architecture grad, I had no idea about marketing. I didn't know marketing existed. I didn't know why it was important. And there's so much visual communication in marketing. So I kind of made that pivot unintentionally, but really, really valuable. And it also taught me about how to win work. You know, what it takes to actually get a job, nurture a client, put together a package that is easily legible, and kind of pitch your ideas. And then marketing opened up a position in business development, which was also a sharp pivot, but gave me a new understanding to actually winning work and what that takes. And at the time, I was in my early years at MA. I've been there about 6 years now, and we were opening a Cincinnati office. So I'm from Cincinnati, I'm in our Cincinnati office, and it gave me an opportunity to not only reconnect with my city, but kind of be the face for our company down there because we were new and relatively unknown. So I jumped at that opportunity, but was really quickly missing design after a year. So I made the pivot, as you'll find out in our first obstacle, to environmental graphic design. Does everyone know what that is? Raise your hand. Awesome. We're going to go over that in a little bit. So that's where I am now, and experiential design is where we've kind of moved the name in December, January of this year. So you'll hear more about that, but I think those three positions have really kind of formed my way of thinking about strategy and growth, and not just design as design, but how does business development and marketing and landscape architecture and everything kind of fold into one as we start to really grow a business in a business.
Completely fine. Who all here watches Friends on Netflix? So we've said pivot like a million times, so let's just get this out of the way. So
One more time.
one more time.
You didn't laugh hard enough the first time. Okay.
When we were going over this and we were talking about pivoting, this is like the only thing that I could think about was the Friends episode with the pivot. So I was like, I have to get that out of the way, and I have to watch it right now because I'll just keep thinking about it otherwise. But hopefully today, when we were talking about pivoting, it isn't as stressful as what Ross Geller says, but hopefully we provide some insight and takeaways that we've kind of curated based on our experiences. And one thing that I really want to hit home on is it's up to you to pivot. We were talking about this also like basketball. You pivot to find the next best move, the next best play, and it's really up to you. You are the only one that is going to make this decision, and it's up to you to decide when and how and why, and no one else will do it beside you. So I guess without further ado, we will jump into some of our obstacles, and we're only going through 3 today, but there are so many more, so hopefully that invites some questions at the end, but let's jump in.
All right, so obstacle 1 was architectural and interior design clients wanting environmental graphic design. So this actually happened about 4 years ago when I was in business development in Cincinnati, and we were having interior design clients start asking for environmental graphic design, which is more of the design of the space, the feel, the look, the signage, wall coverings, installations, anything that evokes your brand in the space. And it was awesome. People wanted this service, and we didn't really offer it. So we had an interior designer, really talented, that was starting to dabble in wall coverings and custom signage. And little did we know at that time, this just scratched the surface of what environmental graphic design really is. But we were doing it and figuring it out on the fly. And so when we heard this kind of request a lot, one of the partners, our interior designer and myself, kind of put our heads together. And at that time, I was also really craving design again. So we sat down, and there were two paths in front of us. So path A would have been, keep providing light environmental graphic design services, doing these wall coverings, signage, but not really making that one of our core services, and focus on building relationships with people who did it and brought their process into our process. Clearly, we didn't want path A because I was like, okay, this sounds great, I want to do it. So we found a path B, which was researching the service, me transitioning to the lead of the studio, or not at the time studio, a service, and marketing it as an in-house service, and being able to start serving clients on the architecture, interior design, and environmental graphic design. And just so we have the definition out there, this is from the Society of Environmental Graphic Design. So environmental graphic design embraces a lot of disciplines, especially graphic design, architecture, interior, and industrial design, as well as landscape. So, as we're kind of looking at the two paths, we knew MA had a super strong background in architecture and interior design, and my background was in landscape architecture and graphics. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us. We're like, yes, this is for us. Our clients are going to love it. Why don't we already offer it? What is it? And really, environmental graphic design is just as important to architecture as interior design. All three work together. And when they're not thought about together, that's kind of when you miss out on experience. And that yellow dot in the middle is where the magic happens. So this is when design is thought of comprehensively, and lighting works with the graphics, and the graphics serve as wayfinding for the building. And you're in a space and you're like, wow, good design. Don't know why exactly, but everything just kind of works. And that's kind of been our philosophy at MA, growing this, is that they're so closely related that one doesn't really shine without the other. And ultimately really just connect you to a place and make things memorable and make you want to tag things and tell your friends. And that's kind of really a sweet spot for us right now, is defining that middle area. And we did just create a video that coincidentally shows a lot of our work. So you can kind of see a little bit of examples of how we've done this in space, because it is a very visual service. Don't get confused. It's called experiential design here because it's our new promo video, but the bulk of it is environmental graphic design.
Please play.
Experiential design is the art of creating impressionable moments that allow people to live, feel, and experience your brand new space.
So aside from just an environment, we're creating an experience intended for someone in an environment. So we're connecting to get keys along a key wall, or tap-ons, or big lettering, or ropes that make food providers that are actually used on site, even shoestring wrap lettering. We do a lot of custom pieces that are very reflective and branded of the company's environment.
Here at MA, we have the opportunity to collaborate with interior designers and architects, and it is our job to help you create those spaces and environments for you that work with you and your culture. What is it that you want someone to really experience in the environment? What do you want them to take away? What do you want them to talk about?
It is our job to help create experience that works with your space and your culture.
We are in the business of making experiences meaningful. So yeah, that's where we are today. So hopefully what we're talking about in obstacle one. Oh, again.
Again, one more time. Stop playing. Okay. Okay.
So hopefully some of what we shared today will kind of help you understand how we started from environmental graphics and how we're at experiential design today.
Okay, so back to our first obstacle, right? We want to offer environmental graphic design. So this, with a lot of pivots, started with the opportunity. The opportunity was there. We were listening to our clients. We knew what they wanted. So why wouldn't we offer it? It made sense with our service line. So with opportunities comes excitement, right? There's a new thing. People are going to pay you to do this new thing. Do it. You know, you're amped. And then excitement leads to a lot of research. And when you're in that early stage of research, you're not really absorbing a lot of information. You're kind of just surveying the landscape of everything you don't know, which is a lot. And unfortunately, we think that is the zone that a lot of people get stuck in, right? So what would have been a pivot doesn't actually happen because you're constantly looking at the mountain of questions you're building and not getting answers. You're kind of just getting fear and self-doubt of, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. How am I going to do this at a professional level? And I think it's kind of quicksand. You know, you start getting lost in what you don't know and not being able to see the opportunity on the other side of those questions, you know, when you start to get those skills. So if you get past that, which we've got past that a few times, you get to learning. And learning is probably the most exciting phase, I think. At this point, we had probably a few projects under our belt, but I was still absorbing so much information because I didn't know a whole lot. And I knew visual design, I knew graphic design on paper and in the landscape, but this was a whole different animal. And so once you start learning, you start building those skill sets, you know, piece by piece, tool by tool, and you start getting confidence. And there's not really a point in time where that confidence just magically happens. You know, it grows, but it definitely starts replacing that fear and that self-doubt, and that confidence is really what charges you to pivot. And the last, probably really important point of this first pivot was building a network. So I looked around me, and my circle was of no one that understood environmental graphic design. No one knew how to fabricate it. No one knew really what it was or could talk about it. And so I spent a lot of time just talking and getting to know who offered the service in Columbus and Cincinnati, who were the fabricators, who were the competition, you know, asking our people, hey, does this who does this on our projects? You know, it's getting done. If we're not doing it, who does it? So I really had to be humble and ask questions that I was kind of embarrassed to ask and say, you know I should know this, but I don't. So can you educate me? And it's amazing how many people want to help you. And if you're here for Claire, she touched on vulnerability. And that is probably the biggest milestone in building a network, is being vulnerable and saying, hey, I don't know it. Can you help me? And 4 years later, those first kind of people I leaned on are my biggest supporters now, and are probably most used fabricators, because they want their voice heard too. You know, people that help you don't just want you to tell them what to do and, hey, here's my design, here's my vision. Instead, opening the conversation and saying, what do you think? Is this a good material choice? Like, tell me if this is really stupid. You know, like, you have the grounds to say, yellow flag, red flag, not a good decision. So building a network was really probably the biggest thing that kind of got us supercharged in offering environmental graphic design. So our first takeaway is approach change with curiosity instead of fear. And this is also a very gradual thing, because when you look at something you don't know, your first instinct is to like kind of clam up and like, oh, I don't know how to do that. I can't offer that. Why would people pay us to do that? But we've kind of learned to shut off that instinct and really start just asking questions from the get-go. Like, I can't do it. Okay, who could do it? Who could I ask that might know how to do it? And just, you know, I think it's probably taken us a few years to kind of get out of that fear mindset of trying new things. But I think when you're responding to a client's need, you're actively learning as you go, not getting stuck in that middle section. And that network, it all kind of adds up to you responding with curiosity instead of fear. And this actually led to our first big pivot, which was, all right, we're offering environmental graphic design.
Which leads us to obstacle 2, and this is where I come in. I started at MA in 2017, and it was kind of a rush of excitement, a rush of fear, like Chelsea was just talking about. Not only was I bringing to the table my experience with environmental graphics and brand, but we had 5 months to figure this out. 5 minutes, that would have been awful. Chelsea actually was leaving the country for 9 months. So she traveled the world with her husband, which was...
She knew that when we hired her.
But it was actually, it's what lit fire under our butts to like really sit down and think about what to do. Not only was she going to be around the world in different continents and things while we're building this studio, but we're also going to be in different cities when she came back. So as she said, she's in the Cincinnati studio and I'm in the Columbus studio. So our second obstacle was, how do we build a studio together while not actually being together? Similar to obstacle 1, we knew we could maintain the existing service and projects while she was gone, and we could just tag team like however we needed to for those projects, or we could really hone in and do what we were really passionate about, and why I came on to MA. I was really passionate about growing the service within an architecture firm because there's huge value in having the service in an architecture firm working beside architects and interior designers to create a holistic experience like Chelsea touched on. And we knew we could leverage each other's skill sets, so we both went to school for different things, ultimately design-based, but we knew that we could definitely enhance the service together. So leaning on each other for weaknesses and strengths, it's a great opportunity for us. And also, it's really fun to use Chelsea's insights from her travel as thought leadership, and also using it as experience for us when she was in Africa. She was visiting with environmental graphics firms and talking to them about what it looks like over there, what does success look like for them. So it's really cool to think back and kind of remember why this all started and how we got to where we are today based on Path B. Ultimately, we quickly found out it was all about being resilient and resourceful. And really tapping into your network is really important, just as Chelsea touched on, because we don't know everything, and we still don't, and it's really important to have that network to lean on. And you'll find that people are really, really excited to help you because they want to succeed with you. And everybody loves to feel like an expert anyway, so if you ask somebody for advice, they usually take that really well, and they'll give you all the advice, and it has been extremely, extremely helpful. And not only did we have to be resilient and resourceful, but we needed a plan in 5 months. So we actually sat down, although, we're all creatives, and it kind of makes your eyes cross thinking about creating a business plan for something, especially if you have no idea what you're doing right away. So we got to work. We really wanted to build this plan because we knew we were going to be sometimes not sleeping and awake at the same time, and we needed a way to make sure that we had a place that we were both going towards. So we went to a coffee shop, and we sat down and we were like, what does our studio even look like? This is our actual coffee shop sketch, and this is a mind map. And we put up everything from like, what are our clients going to be? We need premium budget clients right away. And who can help us fabricate these things? So we really put this to paper. And if you don't know what a mind map is a way to put a goal, the center point on a piece of paper, and really help you understand how are you going to achieve that goal? What are the steps you're going to take? So for us, it was building an EGD studio. Then we broke it out. Who are our clients? What is our process? What's the education look like? How do we teach ourselves? How do we educate others? How do we educate our network that this is something that we actually want to do? And what do we want our reputation to be? Obviously good, but how are we going to do that? And then you can break it out even further. So with clients, where are our clients going to be? What type of markets? Premium budgets. You can break it out, and this really will allow you to take a step back and get a list of things that you can do to ultimately get to your end goal. So we broke these out, and it really helped us create our goals.
It really gives you a roadmap, right? So day to day, you're like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I on target? And we kind of numbered these 1 through 5, and it gave us priorities and priorities under those priorities. So we even refer to this today, and it's become a really pivotal tool. Sorry, not to ad-lib too much, but it kind of organizes our day-to-day process.
Yes. And something else that helped was leaning on our mentors.
There it goes.
And really creating SMART goals. So one slide that's not in here right now, that's what I was looking for. We created SMART goals from this, and SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And we can send this out to people after, since the slide's not in here. But we wanted to make sure that what we were wanting to do was actually realistic and something that we could achieve, and understanding that some things maybe we had a table for now, but to get to the end goal, this is what we needed to do. So our mentors and people in the firm really helped us understand, like, hey, maybe you should really think about, setting a goal, like when are you going to do thought leadership and education? What are you going to do to get there and by when? And it really helped us, again, light fire in our butts to just sit down and really get to it. And we were doing a lot of this stuff while she was in different time zones. So communication was a big, big factor into this, and we still use all of that communication today: text, email, web calls, anything, you name it, email. And we found really quickly that over-communication is better than communicating, just simply communicating, because if she was on a client call, she made notes so I could wake up while she was going to sleep and get back to work and pick up where she left off, and vice versa. And also with our fabricators and our clients, it's really important to over-communicate so nothing is missed, or try to make sure nothing is missed. And so that's one thing too, is I think it's really important to over-communicate, whether that be with your network, the people that you work with, your clients. Over-communication is key, even if you feel like you're hounding somebody redundantly. And I just gave you a lot of information, but we just have the main takeaway here is small steps equal progress. So there might be that big mountain of questions, but once you start getting in and tapping some of those networks, once you start getting in and setting your goals, there might be some progress being made, even though it might not be overnight. And starting out with that mind map, if you just sit down and do it yourself, look back at it. We look back at it now. That reminded me of a song, but look back at it and just think, wow, I've come a really long way since we last sat down at this coffee shop 2 years ago. Even though we still refer to that today, it's a lot of fun to see maybe how we've pivoted. And it's okay to, it's okay to set those goals and they change based on maybe what you find new. But it's a lot of fun looking back at your original goals and how you're aligned, or maybe how you've shifted.
We're flying. Obstacle 3 is actually very fresh to us. So obstacle 3 kind of happened toward the end of my travels. And when I got back in December, we were like hungry.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Hungry to pursue our own work. And through the mind map exercise that we've touched on, Alicia and I kind of quickly realized that we had, probably like a lot of you in here, a varied skill set that could allow us to chase other work outside of kind of environmental graphic design umbrella. And this would allow us to kind of pursue different creative outlets, and also grow our portfolio, grow our revenue, and be an asset to our firm. And so staying with Path A, Path B, Path A would have been an awesome path, right? Path A would have been profitable, it would have been challenging, it would have been diving deeper into environmental graphic design, staying that course, looking up new materials, new technology, making new partners. It would have been an easy choice just to kind of make them home, us continue, and kill it. But we were really wanting to pursue our own work and do business development and nurture clients and really start to create a business that was more focused on experience and less about just creating an environment. Because the longer we'd been doing this in different, Herd, another company, me at MA, we realized there were just some gaps, right? So when you make an environment, people can experience it however they want. They walk in, it's sometimes static, sometimes not, but you're not really dictating too much how someone feels in it. You're leaving it up to them. And we were really starting to want to own that and be like, okay, you want someone to feel really happy. What does that mean? How does the build-up work? How does the aftermath after they leave work? Is there a way you can incorporate sounds and smells and a party and or an event? We really want to capture experience and moments, fleeting moments. So
For instance, a lot of our clients do cuttings, like ribbon cuttings, to open their facilities. So how can we help them really make an experience out of that? That's just one of the areas that we found that, usually there's just like a newspaper image and everybody from work, but how can we help them create a better experience for their clients, for the people that are working there, for the public to see? So things like that we are seeing, gaps at the architecture firm, like how can we help our clients, not just internally, but our clients as well?
Yeah, a lot of times we work with a kind of a small user group. If we're doing like a headquarters or a smaller office, we're just working with a few individuals that are then garnering feedback from the employees. So we want to like build that up. How do we get your employees excited? Like, yes, you four are excited, but how are all these employees now going to come into your space and really understand why we made these design decisions? We were just seeing some gaps and looked like a business opportunity. So we pivoted to Path B, which meant meeting with a business coach and defining financial success for both of us as individuals and as a team, and creative success. As all of us in here, we have different personal goals and growth goals and leadership goals. So we kind of probably mind mapped then too and listed everything out, what we wanted to accomplish. And we knew this was going to expand our service offerings and ultimately change the name of our fresh new studio from environmental graphic design. And then it had to expand and inform our network that we were doing this and why we were doing this. So this is a sentence that is always on our reviews, twice a year at MA. I am most focused and energized when I'm working on blank. Now, hopefully this is exactly what you do, and you can fill that in with your role. But this was never my role at MA. That answer that I always would fill in was running events, or making touch points for prospective employees, or creating an onboarding packet, or doing our holiday party and making all the print graphics. So what I realized through this question was that I love making people feel something. I like triggering emotions. I like, catering an experience to someone. And usually that was at MA in a lot of different capacities, to educate, to communicate, to excite. I think we do a lot of work on our culture, so there were a lot of moments I could kind of help out with graphic design and do that. But as I answered that question year after year, I realized through our mind map that Alicia felt the exact same way. And she was passionate about making people feel something too. And ultimately, the word experience surfaced over and over and over. And once that word kind of became our internal buzzword, we knew that we were going to change the studio to experiential design. And making experiences meaningful kind of became our mantra, and still is today. And there's no right or wrong answer how to make experiences meaningful, but we're starting to find ways, both internally and externally, to kind of elevate environmental graphic design to under the larger umbrella of experiential design, which incorporates a lot more than just interior, landscape, architecture, and industrial design. So this is our definition. It's definitely not scientific, but experiential design to us is the art of creating impressionable moments, which you heard in our video, that allow people to live, feel, and experience a brand or story. So what we love about our definition in this term is that there really aren't a whole lot of boundaries. So it was starting to let us play in a lot of arenas and kind of leverage the skill sets we've been building to, I guess, just kind of elevate graphics. That's how it started. And it's been probably the best decision because it's allowed us to kind of educate clients too on why this matters and why experience is more than just a logo on a wall or a really cool graphic. Everything needs to be rooted in their story, in their truth, in their kind of reason for being.
So as you can see, experiential design can cover more than this, but this is kind of where our areas of focus are. So working with interior designers, architects, industrial and print design, event design. We're actually working with the Columbus Chamber of Commerce right now for one of their events coming up in August. So we did everything from the temporary environmental graphics to the programs to the name badges to really, a holistic experience. So we're starting to step out of our boundaries as we speak. So this is exactly where we are today. We're still figuring all of this out. But something else, we don't know all of these things surrounding experiential designs, but we know that we want to curate these experiences and this design for our clients. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about the client. So how can we do that best? Tapping into our network, people that we've worked with in the past, whether it be at a graphic design agency or with fabricators, tapping into them. They've made pivots in their lives by now as well. And how can they help you, or how can they help us? So it's really important to think about, you don't know everything, and we don't know everything, and find people that do. Find people that can help you.
And I did want to just make one note, is that we've been really blessed at MA to be able to explore this, and really happy that what we wanted to do fit kind of in the overall business plan. But I know not everyone is kind of granted that luxury. You know, you're getting paid, whether you're a freelancer or you're at a company, you're getting paid to do a job, right? So you got to pay your bills and you got to fulfill your role. But I think what's really important that we've discovered is to try to keep that conversation open with your employer or whoever pays your bills if you're a freelancer, and start to reframe what you want to do as an advantage for who pays you, right? So we want to hopefully get into events. So how would that benefit our client? So every time we talked about it, it wasn't just, I want to do this, I think this would be awesome, I'm passionate, because people care, but not that much. They'd rather want to know how that helps them and why what you want to do is a differentiator for them as a client. And this kind of really got people on our side really fast, and let MA kind of give us reins to explore what XD meant for them. But every time we had the urge to say it was more like, okay, how as MA will they embrace this? Or how will this client benefit from having us do their event or their print design, coupling with the interior?
And a lot of it is going beyond your job title. So don't let your job title define you. If you go above and beyond, people will recognize that. And if you have that conversation open, like, hey, I would like to kind of dabble in this, I'll do it on the side after work for you to help you, people will start to trust you, build their confidence in you, and really help you achieve what you're looking and setting out to do.
Oh, that word got cut off. Hello? Okay. So this is accurate graph, right? So the bottoms actually says success. But the more effort and passion you put in, success goes up, right? Is this a normal process for everyone who are designers? You all should be saying no. Our process looks more like this. Some days we plow forward, and some days we feel like we take big leaps back. Some months we make, big milestones and feel amazing, and then the next month we're like, did we do anything this month that corresponded with our mind map? And I think what's really important here is that you just have to trust the process. And I know you all have heard that, but for the past 4 years, we've been trusting this process and trusting that the work we're putting in is actually paying off. And now when we look at our mind map from 2 years ago, it's like, wow, we've made leaps and bounds. But in the middle of it, it's really hard to gauge progress and to gauge success. And I think the mess for us has been where things have got really interesting and where we've learned how not to do things or how not to communicate, or a lot of lessons that you don't learn without kind of the mess of a process. And every day is something new and a mini obstacle, but ultimately we're going in the right direction. And I think if you put in the work, just trusting that it's gonna work out is hard, but it's a learned thing. So hopefully a lot of your processes maybe look like this, or just us.
Or if they're like the first graph, let us know how you're doing it.
Yeah, tell us. So our third takeaway is let life goals and passions directly influence your career. I know this is cliche, do what you love what you do, but ultimately, if you like what you do or love what you do, it's not going to seem so trying to go to work every day or to put in the extra hours that it takes to grow something, and really keeps you interested and invested in what you're doing and gives you a purpose. I think keeping that conversation open is vital in making those baby steps toward a pivot, because it isn't just a sharp pivot. or for us, it hasn't been. You know, we've really had to kind of carve out that way little by little. And revisiting goals often for us has also been really important, because without a roadmap, without some kind of prioritized list, what are you working toward? Like, what is your end goal? And everything is kind of interconnected. And putting in the work, you know, we talked about that chart. Just trust that everything you're doing is going to culminate in something. And if you have someone on your side, especially a mentor, mentors have been really, really pivotal people in our lives. Just that encouragement, and surround yourself with people who want you to succeed, and use that network. And you know, if you're daydreaming about something, like, talk to someone about it. You know, have those people that fill you up and can really directly influence you and be your mentors as you grow.
So here are the 3 takeaways from today in our presentation. And hopefully, it's really cool that we're all in the same room, because we can lean on each other too. Everybody's pivoting at some point, whether you know it or not. I feel like, you know, your mind is like saying, I wish I was doing this, I wish I was doing that. And it's just a matter of taking that leap of faith and just doing it. And everybody in here is on a similar track. And so it's really cool that we can all connect, and how can we leverage each other's talents and our network to better present our clients with things that they're expecting. And really just let life and the passions in your life directly influence your career. As you know, our path has not been streamlined, but you know, what makes you get up out of bed in the morning? What are you really passionate about? What are those things? And I think really understanding that the little steps to get there really go a long way.
Yeah, and one more thing, not everyone knows their passion. Like, probably very few kind of know their passion. Does that mean we're done? Are we cut?
Is that a sign? What?
So, it's gradual. For me, marketing led to BD. BD led to environmental graphics. Environmental graphics led me here. So I feel like
each other. I'm so excited about it. We have, like merging all of our talents. What's really led us to where we are today is by going after that little pivot and making those pivots, and not really knowing what's around the corner. But
yeah, I mean, every step you take and every job you decide to take on is going to better formulate what you want. I think it's not, you don't just wake up and you're like, well, some people do. Claire did, sound like. You don't just wake up and like, this is what I meant to do. Every step kind of tells you, I don't really like that, but I like that aspect of that. How can I incorporate more of that into what I'm doing? So it's definitely a challenge in itself to figure out what you want to do. But I think as long as you surround yourself with those people that encourage that, you'll be more on your way to finding that. Okay, questions? Thank you, we're done.
Thank you.